Well, how many of you are making $1,000, have made $1,000 in a week, in 1 week period? Not every week, but at least in 1 week. Okay, that's what we're talking about right now. Real estate investors, how to make an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a week from writing 500-word articles. That's it. That's all we're going to be talking about this whole entire time. So when I said earlier, how many of you have made $1,000 in 1 week? So every hand that's not up, you guys, this is going to be, we're going to do this whole, today, all the exercises we're going to do, we're going to make a note of them, or we're going to do them as we're going. Are we recording as well? Recording? Oh, how's it going, guys? How's the mail? Rhymes and KO, BigRia.com, the world's #1. We're building the world's largest organization, special needs business owners and real estate investors. We're also the world's #1 channel for Indiana real estate. This is one of the cooler, I don't know how much this is going to be online, but this, I'm telling you, for years and years and years, I am one of the only, I was like a professional copywriter. Like I actually wrote copy. I know how to write controls, and also as a real estate investor in real estate and business stuff, right? Combination of those worlds has eluded me for years, because how much copywriting do you really need to know? I paid over 30 grand to learn from the best copywriter alive. And do you really need to do all that? What's like the perfect medium? Like, how can you quickly learn? This class right now, you guys are going to learn how to do this, and we're going to do this real live time. We have exercises we're going to go through. You're going to learn how to do this 500-word articles. It's about 1 page in Microsoft Word. Very short, very easy to do, and how to make an extra. So who here has done over $2,000 regularly a week? Okay, that's the smallest group. $1,500 to $1,000 easy. Okay, how about $2,500? Okay, so we're going to talk about only a couple of $2,500. So not many people making 10 grand a month, right? But for the people doing $500 a week, we're going to show how to go from $500 a week to 10 grand a month, $515 to $2,500, because you guys are doing this $2,500, and how to do it instantly, how to do it quickly. Okay, so how to make extra $1,000 to $2,000 a week for writing 500-word articles. Even if you don't want to do this, there's a whole bunch of plays there are. If you want to get motivated sellers, right now is a time where every one of these markets, we got our first offer for Big RIA. It was like 300 grand. And then when we talked to them, they offered 500 grand. And this is what you can do. Once you start building these assets, it becomes really hard to ignore. Oh my gosh, this is meta. Pay attention to this paragraph. Very close attention to this paragraph. Okay, so as a real estate investor, imagine if you could write a single 500-word article, put it online, and make $10,000 to $20,000 a month for the next 3 years. Writing internet articles that generate leads for a business has been around since the early 90s, but today changes in the industry have made it easier than ever for a beginning writer to make 6 figures a year working from home by writing online articles. How many of you know what we're doing? All right, so today we will talk about how to make an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a week by writing short 500-word articles that can be written in less than a half hour. We'll go over the websites to use to get clients to hire you, how to make sure you can get paid top dollar, and the exact 5-step formula that me and my clients use to write these articles in less than 30 minutes and make $100 to $300 per hour. By the time you're done here, you'll have everything you need to get your first paycheck in the next 3 hours. Okay, that was very well written. Good job. Okay, so this is really good. This paragraph's really good, and just pay attention to this, because this is all we're going to talk about today, is how to have high compliance. So here's what you're going to be doing: writing short, engaging content for clients. That's what we're doing. You're going to build your SEO and copywriting skills. So we're going to put these little things up. They're going to become lead magnets, and then we're going to talk about how to walk these people through these five crowds. So we're not just going out and doing jobs here and there, right? We're not just getting on Upwork and doing small jobs. This is really, this is one of the really cool things that we've been developing now, because you can get out without leaving your house really quickly. The key to doing this is you've got to be fast. I mean, just fucking lightning fast. And today we're going to talk about how to do these really quick. In fact, all of you, especially those of you that have never done this before, you're going to have, and you're going to have done one of these by the time we're done today. We're going to go through all the steps to do this. Okay, so you'll be able to create content that ranks and generates leads. Then we pick target companies to run our tests with and develop our ROI. Keep repeating until we have enough to buy, acquire, and then run equity plays. Man, giving away the whole game here. This is exactly how this works. First, we want to generate leads. We want to pick, at the very beginning, it doesn't matter. Let's just get some jobs done. Even if you're making like no money, you're basically paying them. Even if we're competing on places like Upwork, where you're competing with people that are paying $5, $10, that's okay. Even if we make no money, if we lost that job, we go back to that person and say, hey, we looked at your website, based on your website and based on your stuff, here's what I think that article should be. Just wrote it for free, or here's the first paragraph, and you can use it on your site, no problem. And I'm just curious how many leads this generates versus your other article. Everything on the internet is a giant lead machine. That's basically all it is. Just a bunch of leads circling around everywhere. And when you put out content like this, you're fishing. And what everyone's trying to do, whether they realize it or not, is they've got to compete to see what's producing the best leads. What we've gone over right now is a formula to get this. If you watch this, man, what we're about to do is this is brilliant stuff, man. This is groundbreaking. We've cracked the code on how to generate leads really quickly with really engaging content. If you notice, we've been doing a Big RIA, and since we started doing this, we quickly got our first offer. Not that we're going to take it, but I mean, just the fact that the offers come in, that you can put up a website. Like, try to explain this to your grandparents, right? They'd be like, what is a website? Like the internet. You can do this now. You can put this stuff up in this imaginary cloud and have it generate leads, help grow these companies. You pick any company to begin with. It's almost better if it's a company you have no idea about. We get better at our research methods, our writing skill, and then we take that, we start to hone in and get better and better at companies we want to work with, or the real estate business if that's what you want. And then we start picking our target companies. So we have a list of 5 companies we went through that are back there on the whiteboard. Those are medical companies that right now we're doing this with, and they're actually getting equity plays once they hit a certain number. So we're generating leads, and then we end up getting pieces in those companies. Write better and you'll read better, you'll absorb better, and you'll actually be better. This is an interesting quote here. Check this out. So Colin Wilson, The New Pathways in Psychology. This is one of the most urgent problems for civilized man. He has created civilization to give himself security. Security for what? For boredom? His chief problem seems to be that most human beings need a certain amount of challenge, of external stimulus to stop them from sinking into the blank stare and blank consciousness of the idiot. This is what happens if you're not reading, if you're not engaged, if you're not getting new shit, if you're not setting new records, you go away to that consciousness of the idiot. This is what, when you write well, it'll help you read better as well. And when you do these things at the same time, they both feed each other. You'll be a better writer, you'll be a better reader, you'll be a better absorber of information, and you'll just have better, more cool shit to say. You'll be a much more informed person. One of the best compliments that you can get is the fact it's not that you're easy to talk to or easy to that you're a good listener, but also that you have important good stuff to contribute to each of these conversations, whether it's business or anything else. You have like useful shit to say. The fool has to say something, the wise man has something to say. Have something to say. All right, 10 places to find jobs. We didn't use any more than these, so these are all, I made sure that these are all publicly available. You don't need any special skills to get on these sites. Fiverr, Upwork, Guru, Elance, Contra, search ads, organic results, just type them in for whatever keywords. LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, for whatever, real estate investing or whatever. Facebook ads, posters, anyone running Facebook ads? Because if you run ads, one of the big secrets with Big Ria is the reason we're getting traffic so cheap is because we have so much content. So anyone that has ads up, if they start putting content up, they'll be able to buy clicks a lot cheaper from Google and Facebook. Craigslist ads, gigs, make sure to go to bigria.com. The number one site on the internet. Did I already say this for the number one YouTube channel for Indiana real estate? We're building the world's largest organization of special needs business owners and real estate investors. Bigria.com. Go there now. Right. Bigria.com. Do it now. This is your time. Take the world. Like Apple said, this is an interesting paragraph. And she pointed this out to me earlier. She'd sent this to me. So check out the flow of this paragraph, the structure of this paragraph. Here's the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers. These are all sentences, right? The round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of the rules. They have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify them, or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius because the people who are crazy enough to think that they could change the world are the ones who do. All right. We're going to talk about the structure of that paragraph in a little bit here. So the article algorithm here, the 5 paragraph plan, sentence by sentence. We're going to break this apart sentence by sentence. How do we come up with these articles that the 500 word articles? Each paragraph, it's about 100 words. So 5 articles here. It may sound complicated, but we're going to go through this entire process bit by bit. So first we have the intro paragraph. We'll talk about that later. Then we have 3 paragraphs, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and then we have the conclusion paragraph, right? So this is all, you guys have this all mapped out, right? Everyone has this down. We have 5 paragraphs that we're going to go through. So in a second, we're going to break and we're going to talk about coming up with a table of contents sentence that helps you determine what all those 5 paragraphs are going to be. But this is going to be the structure of all the articles. We have 5 paragraphs. We have the intro paragraph, paragraph 1, 2, and 3, and the conclusion. Make sense? Okay, so now we have to take a quick lesson and talk about the compliance curve material, because what we're doing with these companies, we don't want to just get jobs as writers. We don't want to do that. I don't want you out there getting, that's okay. If you're making, like we were saying, this is how we're going to go from in the next week from the $500, you can go to $2,500 a week, or you can start going from $500 to $10,000 a week. What's the difference? It's the role that you play with that company. And then when we start getting equity plays, we can start having passive income from these same things. So at first, yes, all you're doing is writing something and you're getting paid for writing that thing. But it's important to understand where this fits in the larger lesson. So the compliance curve material is the 5 crowds principle, storytelling for compliance gaining, because a lot of people want social media writing. So we can quickly translate these things. We're going to do a whole nother class on this because it's about $227, let's say $220 an hour that you guys are making right now. Actually, nobody is doing much worse than that for social media copywriting. Basically, we'll do your social media posts. And this is how we do those social media posts. So the article we're going to write is a lead generator, and then it triggers all of this. What happens once we get that lead? The 5 crowds principle, we should all be familiar with this, right? We have strangers over here. This is every business. The most expensive thing we do is what? We turn a stranger into not a stranger, right? So once that happens, once we have a stranger who's not a stranger, now they're a potential lead. Then we have a lead is a potential. Now, so we have a stranger, then not a stranger, a potential lead. Then we generate an actual lead, a potential client. Then we have a transaction, a client. And then we have the fan base. The more defined we have, each levels of these have their own maturity. For years, we always call the flow charts, and we call the Wendy's. You guys remember the Wendy charts, and now drawings. So drawings, checklists, and scripts. We want detailed. Every stage here, every one of these stages has its own level of maturity. You guys, you should be familiar with this 5 crowds, right? We talked about this many times. Right now, what does that mean for us? Well, the 5 crowds is defined by the 5 stages of awareness. And we have 5 stories of compliance to walk people through this. So what do we do? At each stage, what are we doing with these people? What kind of story are we telling them? So the 5 stages of awareness go coincide with our five crowds. So the first part we have is the unawareness. This is the person who's totally unaware. They don't know of their problem. They don't know of the solution. They don't know of the business, obviously, because they don't know of their problem or the solution, right? So in these cases, we share a story of the hero. We introduce them to a hero. This is the origin story. This is why you're doing what you're doing. We'll give examples of these. We had mentioned this before about one of the first things we say to anybody is that we're building the world's largest organization of special needs business owners and real estate investors. Business owners and real estate investors. That's the main thing that we're introducing people to. So if they want to be involved with any of that stuff, or they want help with that, they can move themselves along the curve. Now, this is the largest group of people in the unaware program, right? More people don't know you for most people than people who do know you, right? So this is why we want to get really good at sharing that story of the hero. I'm going to go over examples of each of these so you guys can write these out. Then the second place is they're aware of the problem. This is where we share a story of pain and a story of solution. So, and we're going to get into defining each of these things, having pain and solution for each of the clients. But this is what we have to have. We're always sharing a story. So if they're aware of their problem, then we share a story of the pain that comes along with that problem and a solution to that actual problem. So like with, you were talking about this earlier with digital photography. So if they're aware that they need to get better at digital photography, share a story of a pain, of a hero's pain. Because he didn't know what he was doing, his pictures were all blurry. They didn't come out as well. They never looked quite the way he wanted. The solution was that he, changed the aperture, that he got better lighting, he took this one composition class, whatever. Now, moving on, the step further is they're aware of the solution. This is a much different buyer, right? So if they're aware of the problem and they're aware of their solution, then we share a story of a shortcut. What's a quick tip we could do? Here's 3 ways to get your rent, to make sure that your tenants are never late on rent ever again, right? Real quick, because they are aware of the problem, they're aware of us, they're aware of the problem, and they're aware of the solution. So we share secrets, different things like different product parts, different little quick tidbits, because they already know about the solution. Then the next stage is the product, because they might be aware of the business, but they might not be aware of the product. This is awareness of the product. So if they don't have awareness of the product, or if they do, but they haven't moved forward, we want to share stories of success. We want to share wins and any kind of record breaking that we have with clients, right? So then the last one is aware of the fan base. This is the highest value, the highest person that we have. This is where we want to share the progress of the movement and the opportunity to experience it. This is how Apple is basically. They just give people the opportunity to be an Apple client again, just share the buy button. So the reason why we talk about how many, when we were talking about the literacy rate, how many people are actually learning to read, we share that with people who are in the highest level of our investors. So they know that they are part of a movement that we are spearheading and they get to be along with us. And then any deals we do with them in the future, anything we work on in the future, they're not only helping their own business, but they're also helping that movement grow. Does that make sense? So let's go back again. Unawareness, we share a story of the hero, right? If they have a total unawareness. If they're aware of the problem, if they know, for example, do we have an example? Are we going to go through this? That is what he said. He said the same thing to me before. So you guys did the unawareness. So we share the story of the hero. Then we're going to go over a couple examples in a second. But the main thing here is to realize that first, if they have total unawareness, we share the story of the hero, the origin story. So I started this, Anna's got a few examples we talk about, but one of them is we want to make sure that anybody can create generational wealth. With Indiana Real Estate, that's why we started doing this. That's a story of the origin of the hero. How was the hero birthed? My life I spent in the darkness, financial illiteracy, and it changed my life when I understood these things. That's what her story, which we're going to go over. I think we have it later on, right? Now, if they're aware of the problem, meaning they know that they need to get in real estate, but they need to invest. They need to invest in Indiana Real Estate or something like they need to get in that. Now we share a story of the pain. If you don't know what to do, if you don't have a good team, you see great deals passing you every day, but you just don't know how to take advantage of them, right? And the solution would be you need to build a good team. You need to be able to create passive income, and you need to be able to have a team that can, your boots on the ground, that can do that with you with real estate. Now, are they aware of the solution? They're aware of, let's say, boots on the ground. They know they need that. Then we share a story of shortcut. Hey, if you have a team that's not producing for you, here's a quick way to do it. Do a recorded call with them once a week. You get what I'm saying? So if we're going on social media or anything, these are the little things we want to add. First, the other thing we were talking about, how are we, when the people said we're closing clients, if you go through this process with any client, first we determine where they're at with the awareness level, because this tells you which 5 crowds, which one of those they're in. If they have total unawareness, we need to share a story of the hero and origin. The hero, by the way, is never you. If it is you, you're only talking about yourself as a proxy for the client, right? That's a person walking through the transformation. I got to start looking at the camera. Are we still recording? So that's why when we sit down with these, so we're doing these with companies. We're taking this exact same, this is very meta, because we're taking this exact same process here. We're going to be able to generate leads for you with 500 word articles, and each article can generate, let's say, 50 or 100 leads a month. For the business, it'll take maybe 5 or 6 months for it to produce more than that, or for it to produce with regularity, and we can add videos and things like that. How much would that be worth to your business? We sit down, they have a total unawareness right now. And then generally, as soon as you go the awareness of the problem is you're not generating leads online with online articles. The articles or the content you do have is not generating leads for you. The quick way, the problem, so we share the pain if they're in that place where they're aware of the problem. Well, the thing is that you're spending money online with internet marketing, but you have no idea how much you're making. And there's no real residual impact. Even if you run ads, the ads aren't going to benefit you much in 2 years. They're not going to benefit you in 6 months. They're not even going to benefit you in 2 days if you stop running the ad. And then we have a potential solution. What you need is you need to take your success stories. You need to have a nobody mountain, a compliance curve. You need to have good material that not only educates your current people, but new people searching for these things. When they sit down and type stuff out for you, you're the first one that shows up there. Aware of the solution. Now let's say that they are in the situation where they know, you know what? I do need to get online. I do need to create content. I do need to have 500 words. By the way, 500 words, we need like 5, 10, 15,000, where if you look at Big Ria, our posts are epic. They're like books, novels. That's what you need eventually, but you add to it 500 words at a time. So we start with the 500 words. So let's say they're aware of the solution, right? I know I need to get content that generates leads. I'm a doctor and I know that in Green Bay or wherever that I need to have, articles out there that are generating leads when people search for back pain or whatever. I know that. So they're aware of the solution. Now we share a story of a shortcut, right? If you want to get your content done, here's a quick way to tell if it's producing for you. Look at the third sentence in the paragraph and it should contain these words, which is exactly what we do. It's right. So you guys get what I'm saying. That's exactly what we say when we're talking to people. And you guys are going to see that breakdown in a second. We share secrets, things like you want to make sure you're getting 100 leads a week at least with each post. We can talk to them really specifically because we already know they're aware that they have the unawareness. We've moved them from unawareness to awareness. Then we've already taken care of the awareness of the problem. And if not, we want to diagnose that properly. And now they are aware of the solution, but they aren't aware of the product. So we have a little tip and then we make sure that the product, when they have the awareness of the product, that's done correctly as well. Now, if they have awareness of their problem, awareness of the solution, and awareness of the product, the only reason they're not buying is because they don't see enough wins. They don't see enough successes. That's why we want to constantly share stories of successes, wins, record breaking. We just had a client of ours who just made blank or whatever, right? And this is where we get our propaganda package because we need to move them to wanting to be part of the fan base. Because once we're talking, if I'm sitting down with somebody, because this is how, what was it you said to me earlier? We had 9 appointments and of them 6 were, these are like $15,000, $20,000 sales. So it's like over $100,000 in one day now that it took time to set those appointments. But the other social media company was like, how are you guys closing so many? Because we don't close them. We go through this process. If I sit down with a business, you're aware of the problem, but you're not generating leads online, right? Your content is not producing. And I say, okay, well, we need to be making sure that you have at least 100 leads a month that you're getting, or 100 views a month or whatever. Well, first thing I'd say the problem is that you're not generating leads. You don't have content that's 500 word articles at least that are generating 100 leads a month. Now we want to talk about all the ramifications of that means you don't have predictability in income. You don't have predictability in any kind of lead gen, and you have no predictability in your transactions. You don't have predictability in how you can hire. You have no idea what you're doing online, right? You get what I'm saying? Those are all symptoms of the problem. This is why if they have awareness of the problem, we share the story of the pain first. Here's all the pain that you know you're experiencing, but here's pain that you don't really realize or you haven't verbalized that you're experiencing. And then we talk about the solution last. Here's one way to deal with that is to make sure you have a regular steady stream of content that's produced on a schedule and that you know is producing for you. Now, what if they are aware of that solution? Because once we tell them that, they are aware of a solution on some level. Now we share shortcuts because I can speak to them in shorthand. You know how I told you about those 500 word articles? Well, here's how you can quickly tell if that's producing for you. Here we have a 5 paragraph structure and just pick any paragraph and here's the 3 things you should look for in any one of those paragraphs. You get what I'm saying? This is good stuff and you know you have their attention. Now, if they have awareness of the problem, awareness of the solution, awareness of the product, meaning that we can help them write this content and generate those leads, and none of our equity kicks in until we know we have a steady lead, we've got stabilized our lead, the process of our leads, and then we've moved them through the 5 crowds, we moved them through and we've actually developed a steady transaction footprint that we're getting. Then we move, that's what we're talking about we don't really move forward with anybody until we know that we've done that. And then we have our equity place. So we want to make sure they understand what the product is. Then if they know about that and we're still not seeing forward movement, then we want to share stories of successes, wins, and record breaking. If you've done all of that, the sales are easy. The completion of the transaction is really easy because they're aware of the problem, they're aware of the solution, they're aware of the product. Now with the fan base, they're aware of our movement, all the stuff really badass stuff we do. This is what we lead with. We always, at the very beginning, the story of the hero, the origin story, and the fan base link together because our fan base, everything we do, it's a part of a movement. When you work with us, you're part of a larger movement. Here's the differences and the changes we're making in the world. And then we're giving them an opportunity to experience that more. And when they buy and they do business with us, they're not just giving you money. They're actually part of this larger experience. Does that make sense? This is how I think that was the worst numbers you had because pretty much every client we're sitting down with, when we're going from someone who starts paying $25 to write an article to now we're doing a $15,000, $20,000 transaction with them in the span of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. This is the process we're going through. Does that make sense? Right, exactly. So yeah, we're going to take a quick break in a second. Pick a random business and then we have a sheet there of different industries. Pick a business and ask yourself, what do we do if there's unawareness? How do we develop a story of a hero, a story of an origin story? Now, if they're aware of the problem, what does that look like? What's the problem that this person should have or would have, and what does that look like? Then how would we share a story of pain? What are the implications of that problem? What's the story of solutions? This is exactly what we do on social media as well. That's why all of our copy has to hit these things. We want to take each of the 5 crowds. We have a specific type of nourishment that we go through and lead nurturing that we go through. And we also are making sure that we're telling these stories. We're telling stories of pain. We're telling stories of solutions. We're telling stories of shortcuts. We're telling stories of successes. And we're telling the stories of our movement, of what we're doing, right? And each of these are done at the right time and with the right language to make sure that we get the right intro, right? Here's the example you're talking about, the superhero transformation. So what movement are you leading, creating? One of them, like a Cadillac for your mouth. I apparently the only person that had my head in the gutter with this, but basically that was a story they had with the ice cream place where they told the story of the number one car dealer in the Midwest had come in, and so the story starts with he had come in and said that when he was a child, the reason he knew he was going to be a car dealer. Here's how I knew I was going to sell cars for the rest of my life. I was going to be in the car business for the rest of my life. My father took me when I was like 4 or 5 years old out to look at cars, and I rode in a car. It felt like we were sailing down the road. It was the most beautiful experience ever, and it was a Cadillac. And I knew that I wanted to make sure that everyone experienced what it was like to drive in a car like that. And I knew that was my mission in life, was to be, once I sat in a Cadillac, I knew that this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. This is what the guy said. He said, I never understood what it meant to have Sub-Zero ice cream, but as soon as I put it in my mouth, I realized I felt just like I did as a kid, and I knew this was going to be a big part of my life. This ice cream is like a Cadillac for your mouth. It did for me what the Cadillac did for me when I was a kid, right? That's a great story. So this is a great origin story, a great story. We start up front. People say, what does it mean if it's Sub-Zero ice cream, right? We can tell that story up front. That's a perfect example. This is how we get good social media posts. Like people always say like, oh, social media marketing. Almost all that shit is dead. It doesn't work. It's not producing for most companies. But we know it's producing if you can take a good story like we just described. And it took you sometimes it takes a while to get that story out of people because you ask them, what's a quick story that stays with you and inspires you to keep doing this? What's a high frequency testimonial? And that's the one they use. They're using that now on the cover of their site, I believe. They're using it on their social media. But again, social media is just a term that all copywriting means is their social media. If it's taking off on social media, that means generally they're doing like 20 other things correctly as well to have an audience on social media. We want to be able to use this on social media, but we keep that stuff up there so when people come there, it kind of works like a search engine. When people find you in a year, they can go back and find that story. So we use it not just on social media, but also in emails and everything else. You get what I'm saying? So that's an example of that story. So that makes this all clear, right? So in a second, we're going to break. We're going to look, everyone's going to pick their own companies and come up with these different stories that we can share. Even if you don't know what to say, at least you have an idea of what you're going to put in those blanks, right? Okay. So here's another example. So this is the one that was used with Anna. So about 4 to 5 generations, this was the headline. There's a famous story about Woody Allen meeting Mike Tyson at a dinner party. And by the way, this story, sometimes it's Arnold Schwarzenegger meeting someone else. It's always somebody not in shape, who's known for not being in shape, meeting someone who's in great shape. There's a famous story about Woody Allen meeting Mike Tyson in the 1980s at a dinner party and asking, what would it take for me to look like you? Iron Mike looked Woody Allen up and down and answered, about 4 to 5 generations. Allen then joked that it would be great if he could just take a pill. That if he could just take a pill and look like him. These are two powerful ideas. First, the idea being that one can be so far from a goal that it will take them several lifetimes to reach it. And the second, that a magic pill could do the work for you. Tyson was obviously joking, but the process of changing one's income class really does take generations. The top 1% equals $30,000 a month. Nearly everybody in America who makes $30,000 a month, that is the threshold for the top 1%, was born there and has been there for generations. To get in that group is nearly impossible. And for those that do rise in income class to get to the 1%, it usually takes over 150 years or about 4 to 5 generations. At BigRia.com, we are providing the world's clearest instructions on anyone can create a passive income of $30,000 a month. BigRia.com is a magic pill that can save you centuries. It was the magic pill that Woody Allen was looking for that can save you centuries. So this is an example of that you guys see what I'm saying, what the hooks are. This is what we want to do with all of our stories when we're talking about our storytelling and how we can use effective storytelling and why we're putting it at different places of our 5 crowds, right? Now let's talk about the 5 Ps. This is the second part we're going to do when we break for the companies. So we sat down before we did this, right? We were thinking about this, the 5 Ps for the headlines, hooks, the business solves a problem. Basically all the business is that you solve a problem for a profit. This is one of our short definitions that we were talking about. So why are we going over all this, and why don't we just talk about the 500-word article? Because it's important that you understand where that fits in the larger context, and that writing good copy that gets people to do stuff, compliance copy, and using your compliance curve, what this really does, man, this is what opens up the entire world. These words that we use, start putting these little pithy words together, and you can make a lot of things happen. So for the businesses that you have, you can pick a new one, you go back to the pile and pick a new one, but each of you are going to come up with these. So first is the 5 here are passion, problem, pain, pissed off, and purpose. So here's an example. I'm in love with helping real estate investors get more motivated sell leads for free without spending any more money. So every smart real estate investor should have a passive income of at least $10,000 a month or $30,000 a month. So what's an example? example. First, we talk about the passion. What are you really passionate about? What do you care about? I'm in love with. And we talk about the people you're helping. So this is your target. Helping real estate investors, right? The problem. What's the problem? Get more motivated seller leads. You're not getting enough motivated seller leads. And pissed off pain purpose. What's the pain that they have that they're not getting them for free without spending any more money? They have to spend more money on their marketing. They don't have passive income. What problems are we helping them avoid? So we're going to do this with each of the companies. Pick the passion. What do they care about? What does that owner care about? Or what do you care about? The people that you're helping. And if it's more than one person, go ahead and list all the people that are benefited, that are helped by that business. Then the problem. What is the problem that's being solved? And then what's the pain they're experiencing? So they may seem like the same thing. They're not at all. The problem is that you're broke. The pain is that you're embarrassed and that you don't have food to go out, that your kids look at you and think you're a loser, that your parents are, thinking that they were right about you or they should have gotten an abortion or whatever, crazy stuff, right? This is what the pain is, like pissed off, the emotion. We never use the word frustrated, but people often use that word. What gets people feeling like that, right? What's a low frequency thinking? What gets them in the gutter? You should know what this is. For your target ideal income person, for your ideal transaction, you should know exactly what pisses them off. What's their pain, right? So identify this with your business, especially if you're starting from zero. If you've never done this before, it's vital that you do this. Your passion, people, problem, pain, pissed off, and purpose. What is the purpose of your business? What's the mission, right? What's the larger calling? So once we get all these lined up, okay, so we're going to go through, we're going to take a 5-minute break. None of this is more than 5 minutes. All these breaks are going to be 5 minutes. We haven't got to the article yet, but the article, when we have that box, the bottom, that article, the byline box, this is where you want to put that in. So if you're with, as a hero, you want to be able to say in one sentence really quickly, be able to introduce yourself in a way that's memorable. That's the hook, all that stuff we talked about. So this is what we're going to use in that book. But here's one quick way. People, problem. I help real estate investors get motivated solely. That's it. That's a simple headline that we can start using. Once we understand what the 5 P's here, the passion, people, problem, pain, pissed off, purpose, we can just quickly start coming up with headlines and just throw them up and test them. If nothing else, real quick, very easy to do, right? I help real estate investors get motivated seller leads. For free would be a good one that you could have added as well, but this is good. So now that we've got an idea of what the passion, people, problem, pain, pissed off, right? The purpose is, identify each of them in this following sentence. As a real estate investor, I was always out of business until my next closing. I was so sick and tired of the inconsistency that I always had that pit in the stomach feeling 24/7. Finally, I learned that the secret to steady, predictable closings, paydays, and income was my ability to generate motivated seller leads for free. Now I'm on a mission to help hungry real estate investors use my 3-step process to create a passive income of $30,000 a month. See what I'm saying? Perfect. So as a real estate investor, that's the people. I was always out of business until my next closing. Pain. I was so sick and tired. That's a problem too. That's a problem. Then I was so sick and tired. This is the pain of inconsistency. That's the pain that I always had, that pit in the stomach feeling 24/7. This is the pain, right? Finally, I learned that the secret, this is the transformation, right? I learned that the secret, finally, after a while, after countless hours or whatever, this is when we know we're getting the transformation. I learned that the secret to steady, predictable closings and paydays, right now we're getting to the benefits here. This is what you're helping them do. And income was my ability to generate motivated seller leads for free, right? This is the problem we're solving. Now I'm on a mission. Whenever we look at purpose, it's going to be like, I'm on a mission, my goal in life, my mission in life, my purpose, the movement that that my business is starting, right? This is how we know we're getting the purpose. I'm on a mission to help hungry real estate investors, people, use my 3-step process. This is our unique part. We'll talk about that later. To create a passive income of $30,000 a month. So benefit here. So passion, people, problem, pain, pissed off, purpose. What's the benefit? The purpose is also included in the benefit. You get what I'm saying? So you can identify each of those as they're being used there, right? And you can identify the people, problem. I help real estate investors get motivated seller leads. Another way to do that is the people, problem, and minus the pain. I help real estate investors get motivated seller leads without spending any more money, right? Without insert pain. Make sense? Okay, so that was a side lesson on the compliance copy and how to start introducing yourself better and how to start isolating those parts of the sentence. Now let's get back to the article training. Okay, so here is the algorithm, all right? So the article algorithm, 5-paragraph plan, sentence by sentence. First, we have the hook. Then the first sentence is the hook. We'll come back to that second, or we'll come back to that later. Then we have the context, some historical data. Then we have the keyword, the thesis statement. So we came up with this by the SAT. Was she here earlier? She was doing these SATs and Ivy League kind of very fancy thesis and essays. And we saw, you know what? How could we use that essay approach that they did for college essays and entrance exams and like entrance essays? Because those, when they're written well, they're brilliant and beautiful. How can we use that process with keywords and on Google and on the internet to get love on the internet, to get traffic on the internet? That's how we came up with this. And then all the tests came out of that. So these are the 3 parts, that introduction paragraph. And sometimes we'll have a promise. A promise is by the end of this video, by the end of this class, you'll know how to and benefit, right? So that's a promise. You don't need to include it, but you can include it if it's keyword heavy. The thesis statement is going to be the keyword. That's the 3rd sentence. Remember we said check the 3rd sentence, the 1st paragraph. That's the table of contents for the rest of it. So we take that hook, we take the context, and we're going to go over examples in a second. The keyword is the thesis statement. That sentence is going to be the 1st sentence of our conclusion paragraph, right? But within that keyword thesis statement, we're going to say today we're going to talk about whatever that keyword is that we're trying to rank rank for it because the whole article is based on one single keyword, right? And then the variations, when you do your keyword research, which we talked about before, everyone's clear on the keyword research, right? We're going to do this in a second. Whatever ones you picked, we're going to pick all new articles to write. We're going to do the keyword research in less than 5 minutes. You're going to find what's a highly searched term, what's a good term to use, and what are 3 supporting terms that are included within that. What are other things people are looking for? And those become our 3 paragraphs, right? So we're going to go over we're going to go over plenty of examples in a second, but just so you know, that thesis statement is what we're going to start with. And you're going to do all your research, then we're going to come back and write the hook, which is that first sentence. Basically, the hook is like something that makes people think, oh, wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting, right? Anything you learned going through this process, context is like if somebody has no idea what we're talking about, how do we give them, when did this start? What's the origin of this, whatever we're talking about, some historical data, and then we get right to the keyword thesis statement. So what we're going to do is we're going to start talking, we already have this signed up. We're going to start with actually just going right to the keyword thesis statement. So let's finish this up then. Each paragraph, 3 paragraphs, they each have 3 supports, so 3 supporting points, and then a summary of that paragraph. We'll go over examples in a second. Then the conclusion starts with that thesis statement again, then a summary, and then the overall broader, larger impact. So here are some examples for this. First, we have the intro paragraph, right? Then we have the 3 paragraphs after it, and then we have the conclusion. This is kind of what the framework of that. Well, the problem is that we never had a formula. That's what this does. That's what this solves, is the idea that we can now say, this is what's so exciting about this, is we can say with certainty that we can create this formula. We can get, not only will you create content really quick, because that's the whole point. We got to be able to do it quickly, and we got to be able to do quick and good, fast and good, right? Get it done quickly, also have it produced that's going to create leads. This is just so exciting how quickly we have tested so many different things out there. And this is, I believe, the only place that we've been able to do this consistently. So the only place that where anyone's going to learn, like you guys, there's nowhere else that's doing it this way and being able to produce these kinds of leads here. Okay, so check this sentence out here. Just in one sentence, you know what? Actually, we'll just do a full article. We have the other article here. Okay, so here was an actual article that we put in this document here. So check this out. So first we need a hook, right? Here's a hook. A landlord's rental property could be worth over $10,000 more if they get paid through ACH, right? There's the quick hook. That's interesting. Could it be worth $10,000? It could be worth $100,000 more if they get paid through ACH. So that becomes our hook, right? Does that make sense? This is something interesting here. Like, oh wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Always, anything you learn, just include that. ACH, or automated clearinghouse payments, were started in the 1970s as a way to avoid paperwork and used to only be available to big companies. Thanks to technology, this could be one sentence, but in this case it's 2. Thanks to technology and advancements, now any landlord or individual can take advantage of automatic payments made directly into your bank account. What is this? This is the context. If you don't know what okay. If you don't know what ACH is, or if you have no idea what it is, this tells you what it is. It gives you a quick summary. That's what a context does. It gives you, just go back in history, do something where if somebody has no idea what we're talking about, quickly they can find out. ACH, or automatic clearinghouse payments, were started in the 1970s as a way to avoid paperwork and was only available to big companies. Used to only be available to big companies. Thanks to technology and advancements, now any landlord or individual can take advantage of automatic payments made directly in your bank account, right? Now, this is the really important part. The third sentence. This is the thesis statement, right? In this class, we will talk about how landlords can set up ACH payments for automatic rent withdrawal. Now we'll go over what services and banks to use to set ACH up, avoiding costs and delays with ACH, and then we'll address concerns about fees, daily limits, and securities, okay? Right, she's laughing. You guys know what we just did here? What happened here? ACH payments is the keyword. So that's why we said, look at the third sentence. The way we're going to be able to do these really quickly is all we're going to focus on. In a second, we're going to break. And all I want you to focus on is that third sentence. What's the thesis statement? So pick the keyword, and now we know what our thesis statement is going to start. In this class, in this article, today we're going to talk about blank, the keyword. How landlords can set up ACH payments for automatic rent withdrawal. This is the key phrase here. This includes landlords, ACH payments, and automatic rent withdrawal. Those are the main keywords, right? You get what I'm saying? So this is what we want to rank for. We're putting this in our third paragraph here. And now, then after that, we look at what are the 3 main things behind that? What are people wanting to look at? So the first thing is, what services and banks to use for ACH setup? That's a big question about this. Avoiding costs and delays with ACH. That was the second big issue that people had with this. We've talked about the keyword research, right? How to look this. You guys should be clear on how to look this up. If you're not, when we break, just ask about this, because the key here, like I said, I keep saying this, you got to be fast. We're going to have 5 minutes exactly for you to come up with this sentence. And all we're doing is coming up with a keyword, and then what are 3 supporting questions that people have about that we can cover. And then, so avoiding costs and delays with ACH, and then we'll address concerns about fees, daily limits, and security. So right now, from now on, just look at that third paragraph. We'll know what the keywords are. Landlords set up ACH payments. And then we know the 3 biggest questions we were able to find: banks to use, what banks to use to set ACH up, avoiding costs and delays with ACH, and fees, daily limits, and security concerns. You get what I'm saying? It's that simple, that quick. And so each of you, I shouldn't say this until we do it, but I guess I'll just spoiler alert here. Once you write this, you're going to give it to your partner, and they're going to proofread it, and they should be able to do what I just did. Read that third sentence, right? Well, it's going to be the only sentence you write. That third sentence tells you the ACH payments, that tells you the keyword, and what 3 supports there are. If there's more than 3 questions, then our keyword's too big. We want to have one solid keyword, because now these little things we put here, these 3 things, this is going to be the first sentence of the following 3 paragraphs. You get what I'm saying? We're going to have one paragraph below that's going to talk about services and banks to use, one paragraph below about avoiding costs and delays with ACH, and one paragraph fees, daily limits, and security. And how do we come up with those paragraphs? We start with that. I'm going to read the whole article in a second. We start with that sentence. We come up with the 3 supports, the questions and the answers. Then we come up with a quick summary. So let's look at this first sentence here. There are a few different ways for a landlord to set up ACH or rent payments. This is what we just talked. This is the main thing here, what banks and services to use. First, you can use ACH with your bank, a third-party service, or another automated payment service like Zelle. There are some banks like Chase that allow ACH for free and with no fees, as long as the other account is also a Chase account. Services like Zenlord Pro, Cozy allow for ACH payments, no fees, or fees of $5 to charge the renter. You see how much it doesn't sound like we're spamming, right? Which we aren't, but we're talking about the keyword and we're answering the most common questions that are already in that are in our title. Do you get what I'm saying? So ACH payments with fees of $5 to charge the renter. You can also use a service like Plastic, which allows your tenant to pay with a credit card and it charges them for the fees. Other third-party services like ClearNow.com, PayYourRent.com allow ACH payments with no or low fees and act as a buffer between the landlord and the tenant, so the tenants wouldn't see your bank account number, although that's always on a check. Lastly, you can use a service like Zelle, which has a daily limit, but at banks like Chase, there are no fees for these money transfers that can be set up to automatic. The summary, I guess that was the last summary. We could have had a better summary on that, but you guys see what we've done there? This issue here, go back to our first paragraph, the services and banks to use. We just covered that with that paragraph. This becomes the first sentence, the intro sentence. It's self-similarity. Every paragraph works the same way. Now, the second paragraph is going to be about avoiding costs and delays with ACH. So let's look at that. Then we go down to our second paragraph. There are costs and delays that come up with ACH, but if you set this up correctly, you can avoid making common mistakes. The first sentence here, depending on your bank and the tenant's bank, you'll be able to come up with ACH payments every month for free. First point. Second point. If not, you want to know the exact costs and compare them to other services mentioned above. To avoid delays of funding, you could choose a bank like Chase that has 24-hour funding. This could have been one sentence, but that's a second point. Another way to speed funding is to make sure your ACH transfers are done as early in the morning as possible at local time in your tenant's bank. Most of our out-of-state landlords come to use this without taking times, or do deals without taking time zones into consideration. And in one case, I changed the time of a tenant's transfer, the landlord to get his money, and in one case, I changed the time of the tenant's transfer, and the landlord got his money 72 hours faster. All right, that's the third point. So compare costs, get free ACH if possible. Go with the bank with 24-hour funding and consider a local time zone to transfer time. So what does this last paragraph do? That last sentence of the paragraph. You summarize what we just said. So compare costs and get free ACH if possible. That's what we just covered. You guys get what I'm saying? Go with the bank with 24-hour funding. That was what we just covered with Chase. And then consider local time for transfer time. You get what I'm saying? This is easy stuff, right? We have that first sentence and the last sentence are really easy to do. And then in between, we're going to come up with 1, 2, or 3 supports. No more than 3 supports. Does that make sense? You guys, once you get this skeletal framework, I'm telling you, we've been that's why she was asking me earlier, why are you writing articles? First of all, I do everything. I do everything I talk about, everything I teach, I do myself. But I was writing them to see how quick I was timing it. I was using that stopwatch to see, can you really do this in less than 20, 30 minutes? Can you write a full article like this? And if you go through the process we're talking about right now, I promise you can do this. And it'll help you get better at reading. It'll help all your comprehension skills, your critical thinking. It helps all kinds of things. But all we're going to focus on right now is just get that third paragraph, that third sentence. You see how vital that is? Now let's do the fourth paragraph. We're only going to go through the full article for this one. Let's just look at the first paragraph. We just went over the first paragraph. The introduction paragraph tells us what that second paragraph is going to be about. It tells us what the third paragraph is going to be about. Now the fourth paragraph is fees, daily limits, and security. So I'm going to come down here. As a landlord collecting ACH payments, there are some things you need to know about fees, daily limits, and security, right? It's the first sentence right here. You guys are seeing that, right? This sentence right here is directly from right here, right? The last sentence here. You get what I'm saying? So now we talk about the intro paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. All we have to do is go to the thesis statement, right? And we can just read and we can determine what our next 3 paragraphs are going to be. You get what I'm saying? And then we have the conclusion paragraph, which we'll talk about in a second. As a landlord, there are some things, we have talked about fees above, but there is one last fee that a landlord needs to know, and that is it exceeds daily limits. That's if you exceed daily limits. Your bank may have a daily limit attached to money transfers of any kind, whether ACH, credit card, merchant accounts, or Zelle payment. To avoid paying this fee, you can separate payments into different days. Pay a standard monthly fee that will be less than the daily limit fee, or in some cases, you can just request a different account or the bank to remove your daily limit. The daily limit for ACH is the third thing now. The daily limit for ACH has increased over time. It's now over $1 million daily. And this is also, we want to include links to some authority sites, right? Once the ACH payments are set up, they are total, safe, and secure for both you and your tenant. You can easily be changed at any time. While a check may take up to 7 weeks to bounce, a credit card charge may be disputed up to 90 days after. An ACH will usually be confirmed within 24 to 72 hours, according to rentometer.com. And this is very difficult to dispute or reverse. So we've covered the security part. We could have put a summary in there about, so I guess that doesn't, in addition additional security, I guess, so we do have a summary coming up here. An additional security concern from some landlords that have about ACH is that they don't want their bank account and routing number shared with their tenants. First, keep in mind that this information is on every check you write from your business account. Also, if that is the main concern, you can use third parties as mentioned above as a buffer so nobody sees your account info. And then 3 steps to set up the ACH. You get what I'm saying? So we could have put a summary here saying, covering these items here about the daily limit, about the standard fees and the $1 million, or how safe it is. We could have put a separate summary here. Basically, each paragraph works. We introduce it, we cover the questions and answers, right? The top 3, the 3 supports, and then we have one summary sentence like we did earlier. So compare costs, give free ACH if possible, go with the bank with 24-hour funding, consider local time transfers. That's a perfect summary. Real quick summary of what that paragraph was just about. The 3 things we just talked about, the 3 supports. You get what I'm saying? Easy stuff here. So let's go to the last paragraph right down here. Today we discussed how landlords can use ACH payments to set up automatic monthly rent payments, right? Very simple. There are multiple solutions to get ACH payments set up while reducing or eliminating fees and delays and security concerns. We're going over how we just went over a bunch of solutions. ACH and other automatic payment services, a growing number of examples of how individual landlords and other real estate professionals are able to take advantage of technology and convenience at what was only for large governments and corporations. These changes are improving life for real estate investors and small business owners in general. Okay, so how do we add that conclusion paragraph? The first sentence of this paragraph is going to be that thesis statement again, generally. So this wasn't the exact same sentence, but it was basically the mirror of this. Today we're going to talk about how to use ACH. This sentence right here, just take that first part before we get into those 3 things, and that's exactly how we start that's the first sentence of our conclusion paragraph, right? And then we get into a quick rundown of what we just covered about the solutions that we went over. Then that last sentence is we zoom it out to take the broadest possible implication. So notice we start about ACH, we start talking about ACH and other automatic payment services, right? But then we add this to our improving life for real estate investors and small business owners in general, right? So take the difference between this. How is this making the world better? How is somebody who has no idea or shouldn't care about any of this stuff, isn't a landlord or investor, how does this help them? Or what's the lesson to take away? We call it the zoom out. Basically, how does this impact the world? Don't be so concerned with the conclusion paragraph. We're going to work on that a little bit later. Right now, your main concern is that we want to write this thesis statement. So we're going to do our keyword research, and then you're going to come and you're going to find these thesis statements. All right. So let's look at a few other examples of the first paragraph. No, I'm just saying that we could have had a better example of that last paragraph. But the last paragraph was good. I'm talking about we didn't have a summary. We didn't have a summary of each of those paragraphs. Okay, guys, just focus on this real quick. All right. Here's how we do this. We're going to go over a few first paragraphs in a second. Okay. Look for each of the items here. For the first one, I'm just going to read it to you and you tell me where we're at. Okay. Just one sentence on a legal document can be the difference between a real estate investor making a fortune or going bankrupt and ending up in jail. For hundreds of thousands of years, people never used real estate contracts. Then about 1,000 years ago, during feudalism's dying days, the Magna Carta was signed, which was a major trigger in our real estate laws, practices, and ownership rights. And it's why real estate contracts are so important today. Today, I'm going to go over a simple way for you to get all the real estate contracts that a real estate investor will ever need, all for free. We'll talk about exactly where to download them for free, how to get help on how to use them, and how to make requests for more contracts, legal documents, and other paperwork for free as well. It's perfect, right? You guys identified each of those. What's the first sentence here? Just one sentence in a legal document can be the difference between a real estate investor making a fortune or going bankrupt and ending up in jail. That's the hook, right? For hundreds, this is the context now. What if you have no idea what real estate contracts are or anything, right? For hundreds of thousands of years, people never used real estate contracts. Then about 1,000 years ago, during feudalism's dying days, the Magna Carta was signed, which was a major trigger to our real estate laws, practices, ownership rights, which is why real estate contracts are so important today. Then our thesis statement. Now you know what the whole thing is going to be about. Today, I'm going to go over a simple way for you to get all the real estate contracts that a real estate investor will ever need for free. This is the key word. This is the whole point of the article. The people look for real estate contracts that a real estate investor will ever need, all for free. That's the phrase, the keyword phrase that we're trying to rank for. We'll talk about exactly what are the top 3 questions people have about real estate contracts, where to download them for free, how to get help on how to use them, and how to make requests for more contracts, legal documents, and other paperwork for free as well. You guys get what I'm saying? This is why we want to get this quickly. How can we write these so quick? Just go to that sentence. We got to figure out what this sentence is. Pick a keyword and come up with this third sentence, right? Our thesis statement. Everything else will become easier. Don't worry about the hook and don't worry about the context. As you're doing your research, you'll find those things out. So our main thing is going to be, what's the keyword that we're trying to rank for, right? What's the phrase? And then what are the 3 supports that are behind that we're going to talk about? And then instantly with this thesis statement, this thesis sentence is like the table of contents for everything else we're going to talk about. You get what I'm saying? So let's go over another example here. Okay, this is actually labeled now. So just one sentence in a legal document can be the difference between a real estate investor making a fortune, going bankrupt, in jail, right? For hundreds of thousands of years, Magna Carta, right? This is the context. So we have first the hook, context, and then thesis statement. Get what I'm saying? Now, we're not going to label them. I'm just going to read these to you and you tell me which ones they are. A landlord's property could be worth over $10,000 or more if they paid through ACH. ACH is automatic payments that were started in the 1970s as a way to avoid paperwork. The only company. Okay, we already just did this one. Okay, that was easy. Are there more? Okay. Indianapolis is the only city in America that is less than 1 day's drive from about 1/3 of the U.S. population, is why the state motto is the crossroads of America. America. For the last 50 years, the appreciation in the Indy real estate market as a whole has been non-existent and roughly the same pace as inflation, but with new developments that has changed and created hot zones within Indy, attracting investors from around the world. Today, we will talk about investing in the Indianapolis real estate market for beginners. We will talk about the 9 factors that make Indy attractive, how and where to find 1 to 2% houses and what that means, and how to look at residential versus multifamily and commercial deals in the Indy market. By the end of this class, you'll know everything you need to start investing in the Indianapolis real estate market. Okay, there's a couple corrections here. First of all, what do we have right? Indianapolis is the only city that's less than a day's drive. I did not know that. From 1/3 of the U.S. population, that's pretty cool. That's exactly what a hook is, right? Now, you're not going to know that going into it, right? You figure that out as you go. So don't worry about that for now. Third thing here, for the last 50 years, the appreciation in the Indy real estate market as a whole has been non-existent, roughly on the same pace as inflation. So what if you don't know anything about real estate? You don't know anything about right? This is what we're telling you. And it's been, but now things are different. Why? Think of the context is, okay, why should I care about what you're saying right now? Well, why me? Why right now? And why you? So within Indy, attract investors from around the world. So this is the hot zones now. Now, what are we doing right here? The next sentence, our thesis statement. Today, we will talk about investing in the Indianapolis real estate market for beginners. That's the key word, right? We will talk about the 9 factors. Again, that's not important because that's not what people are searching for. So you get what I'm saying? Yeah, I saw you nod your head when I was thinking like, what is she talking about? But then I got it. So we could take this out and just say, what makes Indy attractive? What makes, what about the 9? What makes Indy attractive? You guys get what I'm saying? Nobody's saying, nobody's searching or looking for what are the 9 things that make Indy attractive, right? But we can say what makes Indy attractive because that is what people are searching for. And then we could say, here are top 9 things you need to know. Every investor should know about Indy or something like that. Or what makes Indy so attractive? How and where to find 1 to 2% houses. Perfect. That is what we're looking for. And what that means, if you don't know what that means. And how to look at residential versus multifamily and commercial deals in the Indy market. What does that tell you? That is one of the top items that we're looking for when we talk about Indianapolis real estate market for beginners. This keyword, one of the top things is residential versus multifamily and commercial deals in the Indy market. You get what I'm saying? You follow me? So this third, and then by the end of this class, this is what we call the promise, right? Sometimes you include this, sometimes you don't. But when we know we have a promise when we're saying by the end of this class, by the time we're done, you'll blank, you'll have some benefit. You'll know everything you need to get started and investing in the Indianapolis real estate market. You get what I'm saying? And if we're doing this, we want to include another version of the keyword that we included in that thesis statement. Make sense? Yeah. So this is becoming much easier than we thought, right? A lot easier, right? Real quick. Man, I want to see it fast, lightning fast. As soon as you get these down, we were just asking her how quickly did she take it. She just actually wrote that article 17 minutes. That other article, I think we might be using 17 minutes to write these articles. And yes, you can make $50, $100. You can just do that, but that's not the point. We want to use these articles as leverage for those equity plays, which we talked about. But for right now, get better at these articles, get better at, if we're in real estate, we can get motivated sell leads. You can mop up the market there. It becomes pretty easy to rule and dominate your market. Nobody is doing this. By the way, this is exactly what we go over when we're sitting down with our doctors, with our medical groups. Going over this exact same thing. Here's the breakdown of the sentence. Think about this. If you had a business and I sat down with you and I just told you this is the breakdown we use and how we structure every sentence in this article, man, you could do it yourself, of course. You could just hire us to do it. Why not hire us to do it, right? And that's why I said starting on the first, we're going to change the pricing to $50,000 because it's just too valuable. Basically, when we go, the entire pitch that we were talking about is me going through this with them. And then I say, listen, we only have one company, one chiropractor, one surgery center that we're going to use in this area. And I got to pick the best ones. That's why I want to talk to you before I go on to these other 5 or 7 or 10 or whatever. And people immediately just laughing because they're like, whoa, wait a second. Who are you talking to? When's your appointment to talk to? Okay, hold off. Don't talk to them. Just let's look at this. Okay, what because they don't, think about this. If you're in business, any business, right? Do you want me with this formula working for one of your competitors? Of course not, right? That's what we're getting. That's what we're after. We have a few other examples. Okay, so here's another one. All right, so guys, I'm going to go to this. You tell me where we're at. Depending on the market, as much as over 50% of the MLS deals with accepted offers can fall apart prior to closing. As a wholesaler, these numbers don't just go up because you're not regulated with the same industry standards. And this is a big reason. These numbers just go up because you're not regulated with the same industry standards. And this is a big reason why having a good title company on our team is important. Since the 1870s, when title insurance was developed in America, the purpose of a title company is to verify the ownership of a property. The title is correct and legally transferred to a new owner during a transaction. Today, we will talk about what questions a real estate investor or wholesaler should ask the title companies to pick the best ones to work with. We'll cover exactly what questions to ask title companies, how to know your title company is good for wholesaling and real estate investors in general, and the specific role your type of company will play in closings for wholesale real estate deals. By the time you're done with this class, you'll know everything you need to make the best title companies in your area for real estate investors and wholesalers. So was it this article or the other one that already generated 7 solid leads, and they actually got the 2 title companies that actually went and they took their closing price from, like, one of them went from $2,500 to $1,700 and said, okay, you could come and do $1,100 closing just from one article. That's how well these play. So you guys, as I was laughing because I know you got all these. Okay, so depending on the real estate market, this is our fact. 50% of MLS deals, I didn't know that, can fall apart. Then since the 1870s, whenever we enter a date, we're putting context. Since the 1870s, when title insurance was developed in America, which is always a cool little fun fact to know shit like that, right? The purpose of a title company is to verify the ownership of property title is correct and legally transferred to a new owner during a transaction, right? Today we'll talk about, right, we get into our thesis statement, right? Real estate investing wholesalers should ask, we'll talk about what questions a real estate investing wholesaler should ask title companies, right? So what's our keyword? What are we looking for, right? To pick the best ones to work with. We'll cover right now, number one, what exact questions to ask title companies, how to know your title company is a good fit for a wholesaler, for a wholesaling, or for how to know your title company is a good fit for wholesaling and real estate investors in general. And three, and the specific role your title company will play in closings for wholesale real estate deals. You guys get what I'm saying? You can pick apart these. You're like, okay, those, I not only do I know the keyword they're looking for, but I know the three supporting keywords and I know what each three of the paragraphs are going to be. So if I take this, just take one random one, what's the last one here? The specific role your title company will play in closings for real estate deals. What's that paragraph going to start with? Your title company plays an important deal in your real estate deals. First, they blank. Second, they blank. Third, they blank. So a title company will blank, blank, blank. 1, 2, 3. Very simple to come up with these paragraphs. You get what I'm saying? That's why once we come up with this thesis sentence, right? We get this thesis sentence. The other paragraphs are going to write themselves. The other three, and we can quickly boom, boom, boom. Here's the point. Here's the three things to solve that. Question, question, answer, right? Or answer, 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 and how we deal with this. And then summary, what we just covered there. And the conclusion paragraph is going to be, today we talk about the questions real estate investors, wholesalers should ask title companies. We went over these three things. And by getting better at asking questions, it not only makes you a better communicator, but it also helps you build a better team, which helps you in every area of your life, or something like zoom out, right? For that last sentence of the entire paragraph. Does that make sense? Okay, another one, really good one. Did you know in most states, wholesaling real estate is not currently illegal, but in at least 35 of the 50 states, our real estate laws are changing regarding wholesaling. It's probably 50 out of 50 states, honestly. Wholesaling has been around for at least 100 or for at least hundreds of years, as long as real estate investing has been around, so before Twitter. So with the recent availability of technology and influencer gurus spreading false information, more and more people are getting into real estate, but with recent availability. If a real estate investor buys low and sells high, then a wholesaler buys really low and sells low to the investor. When this formula is not followed, well, problems happen. Today we will talk about real estate and wholesaling and why the laws are changing. We'll go over the good and bad practices, how to spot bad wholesalers, what steps to take to make sure you stay legal as a real estate investor, as a real estate wholesaler, and I'll go over a few real-life bad examples of wholesaling practices that illustrate exactly why smart real estate investors welcome these laws changes. What does that tell you? That last one is that people are looking for real-life bad examples. That's exactly what that's one of the top things people are looking for here. So you guys get what I'm saying? Okay, you got the first sentence. We added two sentences here. A second one was if a real estate investor buys low and sells high. So you added that second sentence there in the context. But at least that gives you context, right? So we have the hook, context, right to the thesis statement. All right, so you guys are seeing these thesis statements, right? This is all about doing it in a solid formulaic way, right? We're doing this, everything we're doing is with algorithms. We're moving with mathematical movement, and we know exactly what we're doing. All right, so here's another good one. According to Forbes, in the article, 5 steps to leverage real estate to build generational wealth, the very top method to use was a strategy called BRRRR, an acronym standing for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. BRRRR as a process has been available for at least 100 years, but became very popular in the last few decades as 80% loan to value refinancing has become normalized. BRRRR provides an investor a way to put 20% down to acquire a property and then recycle the same funds and pick up several more properties without coming up with additional cash. Okay, that was a clarification, right? Usually we added a second sentence there because to clarify that what BRRRR is, right? Today we will talk about the BRRRR process, the pros and cons, how to calculate your monthly payments and cash flow situation, as well as real life examples that we're closing on later this week. By the end of this class, you'll understand every step of the BRRRR process and you'll see a real life example that you can model after. So there we included a promise at the end there, and another thing people are looking for real life examples of BRRRR, and the other thing we're looking for is the pros and cons and how to calculate the monthly pay. You guys get what I'm saying? So now we have the skeletal framework, right? The main thing we're going to look at, the first thing we're going to do is we'll work on that third sentence. The better we get at that, the better we're going to. So, okay, how did I start this class, by the way? How meta is this? Pay attention to this I said earlier. As a real estate investor, imagine if you could write a single 500-word article, put it online, and make $10,000 to $20,000 a month for the next 3 years. Writing internet articles that generate leads for a business has been around since the early 90s, but today, changes in the industry have made it easier than ever for a beginning writer to make 6 figures a year working from home by writing online articles. Today, we'll talk about how to make an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a week by writing short 500-word articles. We'll go over websites to use so that clients can hire you, how to make sure you get paid top dollar, and the exact 5-step formula that me and my clients use to write these articles in less than 30 minutes a day and make $100 to $300 per hour. By the time you're done here, you'll have everything you need to get your first paycheck in the next 3 hours. You get what I'm saying? You see the formula. Every single sentence, every single syllable. This is how we obsess over our dialogue. We obsess over every word. You guys get what I'm saying? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now, let's just talk about the thesis paragraphs, right? That's all we're going to do right now. We're just going to break in a second. Here's some examples, because we use some real estate ones. We're using real ones that are online here, but let's look at ones that are outside. It's kind of better to pick ones that are with industries that you're totally completely unfamiliar with. So here's one. This is all thesis statements. These are all third paragraph. These are all third sentence of that first paragraph. This is a step-by-step guide guide to how to jumpstart your car. First, we'll go over the tools you need, then how to safely connect your cables, and lastly, how to start your car correctly and make sure the battery is outputting the right voltage, right? What's the key word there? How to jumpstart your car. What are the top questions people had? The tools you need, safely connect your cables, and how to make sure that the battery is outputting the right voltage. Is that people really searching for that? But perfect, exactly. And now we know you can read this and you can tell what people are looking for, but now we can do the opposite. We can know how to find what people are looking for and how to write a good sentence that's going to fit there. And now we know what think of what do you know about this article? We know what all the paragraphs are going to be. The intro paragraph, we're going to come up with, how many people die every year or are stranded every year. The hook, the context is, how long, if you don't know anything about batteries, car batteries, how long have they been used? And I guess eventually they'll be replaced. They're slowly getting replaced. Whatever. I don't know anything about that, but that's what you're going to find out. And then for the next 3 paragraphs, we know what the next 3 paragraphs are going to start. Paragraph 1 is going to be the tools you need. Paragraph 2 is going to be connect the cables. Paragraph 3 is make sure the battery is outputting the right voltage. You guys get what I'm saying? And the conclusion paragraph. Today we just talked about how to jumpstart your car for the first time or whatever, and we went over blank, blank, blank. Jumpstarting your car keeps you and your family safe, and it's always good to take care of your family. Some zoom out, right? Like the last sentence is something that has how does doing this have a broader implication in their life? You get what I'm saying? So next example. Today we'll discuss the differences between veneers and lumineers. We will talk about the cost, permanent, no going back choices, and the tooth and gum health concerns you should have before choosing, right? Perfect, man. This is why I said pick random industries, random businesses that you don't know about, because when you do the research, it's going to be fresh and you're going to be like, you know what? I could do this with any business. I can generate leads for any business. You get what I'm saying? It's just as easy as just getting this one sentence down. This article will explain how to purchase your first firearm for protection. Discussed below will be a beginner's introduction to the basics of different gun types, how to choose the best gun for you and your family, and a downloadable and printable safety checklist for buying and storing your first gun, and a defense lawyer for when your kid goes on a school shooting. The last part was serious. But you guys get what I'm saying. Here are the top things people are searching for, right? Okay, so you guys get what I'm saying. We know purchase your first firearm for protection, right? This is the terms. We know what's coming, the basic different gun types, how to choose the best gun for you and your family, and a safety checklist for buying and storing your first gun, right? You guys get what I'm saying? This is exactly what you're going to do in a second. We want to be able to have this kind of immediate compliance and this kind of immediate identification of each of these things. So the first thing we're doing here, whenever we have any of this stuff, remember when we're taking someone from a stranger to the fan base, right? This is going to take a process of nurturing. And this is what we're doing with our attract and ascend. The whole point of writing these articles is that we're getting those leads generated. We're walking them through the 5 crowds like we talked about. That's going to be later on, but we are attracting and ascending. We're taking people from here, this lead generation process. We're going through this process of lead conversion and compliance, right? But we're also working to nurturing, because nurturing ultimately is what then we keep doing the same process as we walk up through each of the 5 crowds. We generate the lead, we have some conversion, some compliance, we have nurturing. We have nurturing, generate the lead compliance. We have convert and compliance, nurturing, lead generation. It's just a triangle that keeps going. This is how we always attract and ascend people to higher and higher levels. How they go from a stranger to the fan base, it's the same process we keep going through. We generate a lead, we go through a process of nurturing, and then we have some form of compliance that actually is able to continue to move these people through the levels. But this article that we're writing right now is the first contact that people are going to have with their organization, with the company. So it's important we get this done. What you're really doing is your compliance dialogue, right? Just this compliance copy, compliance and print, salesmanship as they call it. So how do we develop, when we have our hook, it's not just I'm a freelance writer or I'm a copywriter. We don't even want to use those words. The hook is I write articles and helpful consumer guides to help real estate investors get more motivated sell leads from the internet searches, right? Use those 5 P's, right? So I write articles and helpful consumer guides to help real estate investors, the people, get more motivated sell leads, what they want, and from internet searches, right? So an example, here's a quick summary of what we just went over. All right, so we're going to talk about this in a second. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to write that. We're going to pick. So let me just make sure we got it. No, but that's not what we're doing. So when I talk about this hook that we're developing, this is what you're going to start saying when you introduce yourself. So right now you're just a writer. I'm an internship. I'm doing a GXM. I'm just volunteering. I'm just, whatever that right now. But very quickly, you're going to be saying, I write articles for plastic surgeons to generate leads online from searches. And this is the process we walk them through. Here's how we write an article. So the best pitch isn't the pitch where we tell them, oh, we have some highly classified secret. We tell them, listen, here's our 9-step process that we go through and how we write every single article. Here's how we get every single sentence. We do our research, and every single sentence in this article is there for a reason. And then we reinforce it with more and more articles and more resources and more authoritative, building that equity up, the authoritative equity. And that's why when you go and you talk to somebody, even people watching this now, they're like, holy shit, man, I don't want to compete against you. Because this is the basics of the Nobody Mountain. We tell people, listen, what we want to be done with in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, is you want to have an accumulation of so much, just go to Big Ria. That's what you want. That you just eat anybody who tries to come at you alive. There's nobody else that's even in your same vein or anyone near what you're doing. So this is why I'll write articles and helpful consumer guides to help surgeons or whatever get more motivated sellers, get more patients, get more whatever from internet searches. We use those same 5 P's to come up with our hook. So coming up with in a second, we're going to break right in a second. You're going to come up with our keywords. We're going to come up with that third sentence. Then after that, we're going to break again, another 5 minutes to come up with the entire first, second, and third paragraphs, right? The first paragraph we can do in 5 minutes, second paragraph, 5 minutes, third paragraph. Then the last thing we're going to do is come back and look at the hook, and then we're going to do the context. You should have, as you're looking at that research. And then, I'm sorry, that's the second to last thing. Then the last thing we're going to do is write our conclusion paragraph. Make sense? We're going to go with this. We're going to time ourselves. No more than 5 minutes. She has the breakdown. You can take twice as long for your first one, but if you've already done one, then you want to do a little bit quicker, right? This is how we're going to go through this. So focus on that first sentence. Let's talk about everything we should be clear on, everything we covered today. Use our formula to generate leads and clients with the article formula. We just talked about that, the 5 paragraphs and how to every single sentence. Write just one sentence and get this done in less than a half hour. That one sentence is a table of contents for everything you're going to write above it, beneath it, and above it. Above it, there's only 2 things, right? There's going to be the hook and then the context, which you'll learn as you research the other things. But that all we want to focus is on our thesis statement. What's our keywords and what are our 3 supports for that, right? Develop deep relationships with your clients. You want to have equity. We're not trying to just write articles for people and make some money from working from home. We want to take these articles, generate those leads, understand there's a much deeper conviction here, right? We're trying to go through the whole process of adding people to not just clients, but to become part of a business's fan base and to be supportive of a larger movement, right? We want to know that stuff ahead of time. That's the kind of copy that you're doing. That's the kind of writing. That's the kind of storytelling you're doing to turn into equity, to convert that into equity. The 5 P's. So like I said, the way you're going to go from 500 watch to 500, 2,500 is going to happen immediately, because once you start, we're not just writing articles here. We're actually this is going to be a whole separate business model. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. But I got to find somebody in this market, this area that it does work for, that I can have a deep relationship with. No, wait. Man, who doesn't want this, right? The 5 P's in making hooks that stick, exactly how to define an audience and their benefits, the 5 crowds and moving people through them, the 5 stories are telling how do we know people are problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and making sure their fan base aware is the highest place. Attract and ascend levers, lead gen, nurturing, and compliance. The compliance copy crash course, we talked about exactly the 5 stories to tell. The hook training, we want to make sure we're being good and we're able to develop these hooks really well. And all other kinds of badass stuff. Go to bigread.com, social mobility. That's how you write these 500 word articles, make $1,000 to $2,000 a week. Hope that all makes sense. I love you.